Muhammadu Buhari has received the All Progressives Congress's expression of interest and nomination forms. The forms, valued at 45 million naira, were presented to him by members of a group called National Consolidation Ambassadors Network at the Presidential Villa. The president expressed his pleasure for being honored by the group, made up of youth from different parts of the country. Buhari then took a swipe at those whom he said put personal interest above national interest. The president also listed some of his achievements in security and infrastructure.
By 2014, Nigeria, the most populous country in Africa and the largest economy by gross domestic product, could not feed itself or protect itself. It got to a state where government was borrowing to pay salaries, although they had record-breaking oil revenues. Whether it was by design or through divine intervention, the permanent voters card was introduced for the 2015 elections. The PVC became the savior for Nigerians. This meant every Nigerian now had an equal voice. This brought an end to the impunity of the past. Finally, the people's voices could be heard and eventually was heard through the ballot box. Our dream for change, which started in 2002, became a reality. On the national security front, we have regained lost territory in the Northeast. We are decisively addressing new security challenges locally while maintaining our regional and international commitments. On infrastructure development, we are completing old rail and road projects and starting new ones.
Also at the event, Chairman of the President Muhammadu Buhari Campaign Committee, Rotimi Amechi, defended the president for accepting the nomination form. He insists the president has not done anything illegal and maintained that this administration deserves a second term to continue the work done so far.
The law talks about 3 million naira for campaign, 1 million for campaign. For campaign, it is a 1 million for purchase of forms. That the law didn't cover that. But again, it's immaterial. What's material is that it's just not one person that bought the form. You can see the delegation that came. It was a huge delegation. That's exactly what happened. And it's an indication that we are prepared for the election. Now, the president has put the first step forward to show, the official first step forward to show that he wants to run for a second term for the presidency of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. One thing the president has stood for, which is not an easy fight for him and for the cabinet, is that he said to himself, Nigeria cannot remain the same way we have met Nigeria. If it remains the same way, then he has failed. And you will agree that it's no longer the same Nigeria. It's no longer the same Nigeria where you go to visit Minister for Transport or any minister as you're going, he costs the DFA and they give you $100,000. And you take the $100,000, you give your wife $50,000, you give your mother $20,000, you give your brother, you pay school fees, and that's the economy. That's the Nigerian economy. That's how the Nigerian economy was. Now, you go to visit the Minister for Transport or any minister, he looks at you. When he finishes talking, he sees you off. There is nothing like, how much transport did you pay from Port Harcourt or from Enugu or from anywhere? Nothing like that. You will agree with us that even our critics agree that Nigeria is no longer the same. You will agree with us that monies that are accrued to the country are used now for infrastructure. When we came, in fact, the budget for infrastructure was 6%. 6%. That is the record. If you want, we can go and check the 2015 budget. Now you're talking about 20% of the budget, and we're going beyond 20%. We believe that at the end of the day, when we do win, the target is that we must go above 30 to 40% for the capital expenditure.
Meanwhile, the All Progressives Congress, APC, says the option of consensus candidature is conditional. The APC had initially adopted indirect primary for all positions apart from the presidential election, but later changed to direct primary, saying it would ensure fairness and create a level playing ground for contestants. Some state chapters of the party opted to use direct primary, while others agreed on indirect primary and consensus. The states that agreed on consensus candidature are Kebbi, Enugu, Ogun, and Ekiti states. The party leadership says consensus will apply when no other aspirants signify interest through purchase of nomination forms for the position in question. The opposition People's Democratic Party (PDP's) Governors Forum has condemned the refusal of President Muhammadu Buhari to sign the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. The forum says the president's decline of assent to the bill is a sign that the All Progressives Congress (APC) is afraid of electronic voting or the introduction of technology into the electoral system. The forum also condemned what it described as politicization of security agencies in the country. They also advised the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) to reinvent itself as a truly independent umpire of the electoral process in the country, declaring that the forum had no confidence in the commission. Meanwhile, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) is partnering with the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences (ICPC) to address the issue of vote buying in the 2019 general elections. The two agencies promise to ensure the credibility of the polls by making sure that corrupt politicians do not get away with any act of electoral manipulation. ICPC Acting Chairman Ismail Abubakar admitted that vote buying is becoming a new trend in electoral malpractices and assured that the Commission is ready to help INEC apprehend offenders and prosecute them.
The major issue is the issue of vote buying. It is now a major concern, I believe, here and among the people, on the street, that vote buying is now in vogue in our election generally, and it is really something of concern to us, the anti-corruption agencies, and I believe the electoral body, that is the INEC. I would like to inform the public generally and the Commission that ICPC has enormous powers to deal with all cases of corruption and malpractices, including those in election. Our law under Section 6A to F, that is ICPC Act 2000, has empowered the Commission to investigate and prosecute any person involved in any act of bribery and corruption under any law that prohibits corruption. I believe the Electoral Act also provides a number of sections that deal with corruption and bribery. So vote buying is one of the corrupt practices that are prohibited under both our Act and the Electoral Act.
Addressing the challenges that have manifested in recent elections, particularly with the deployment of money to buy votes, is not only a matter for the Commission, it's also a matter for both the EFCC and the ICPC. INEC is determined to ensure that vote buying does not determine our 2019 general elections.
In security, the Nigerian Air Force says its troops have killed several Boko Haram terrorists in airstrikes in Borno State, northeast of the country. Air Force spokesperson Ibikunle Daramola says the airstrikes are part of the new Operation Thunder Strike 2, targeting selected Boko Haram terrorist locations within the fringes of Lake Chad and Sambisa Forest in Borno State. Daramola says the strike also destroyed Boko Haram camps at Buka Meram and Tumbum Alura. He says both attacks were conducted after days of intelligence surveillance and reconnaissance. President Muhammadu Buhari has condoled with the victims of a gas explosion in Lafia, capital of Nasarawa State, north-central Nigeria. The president also appeals to the state and federal authorities to ensure that best medical assistance is provided to the injured persons. 35 people have now been confirmed dead in the accident. The death toll was confirmed by the acting director of the State Emergency Management Agency, Usman Ahmed. Ahmed says most of those who died were witnesses who rushed to the scene of the blast. He also says the truck exploded at the point of discharging gas, adding that SEMA is investigating the incidents. In other news, the United Nations has asked the Nigerian government to do more to stem the rising cases of human trafficking in the country. UN Special Rapporteur Maria Giamariano is asking the government to enforce stiffer penalties on trafficking and provide agencies and civil society bodies with adequate funding to deal with the issue. She also wants Nigeria to address the issue of unemployment and capacity building as a way of addressing the issue of exploitation.
My recommendations and my main suggestion to the government is, first of all, to establish a dedicated fund to finance civil society organizations' activities aimed at preventing trafficking and assisting victims and survivors in their rehabilitation and social inclusion process, to better fund NAPTIP activities, to revise the statute of NAPTIP shelters, opening them and transforming them in real shelters without allowing any restriction of freedom of movement, and adequately fund the trust fund for compensation to victims. I urge also the international community to cooperate with Nigerian partners to improve their designing and implementation of projects, especially in the field of job creation and in the field of community development.
We'll take a short break now and return with news and business. Do stay with us.
In the last 3 years, we have built a multi-purpose center, which is the envy of all in our constituency. And I can tell you that the people who are living there are already enjoying it.
Guy, do you think what this man just said is true? See, I seriously doubt. I'm sure it's one of those their silly lies.
Wait, do you know there's a way to find out if these things he's saying is true or not? This is the Construct app. It gives people like us a sure way to track implementation of constituency projects. It gives valid and verified information on location of projects, amounts allocated, amount funded, the level of job done, and even the profiles of concerned legislators. You and I can post directly on this app.
Are you serious?
This is the Go-To app if you want to know how our Commonwealth is being expanded by the government.
Wow. Let's even see if what this man said is true. Show me.
The Construct app is developed by Other People Nigeria with support from USAID and is available on both Google Play Store and Apple Store.
And it's true.
Of course, I told you.
Welcome back. Let's now join Esther Vese, who is standing by with the latest in business. Hello, Esther.
Hi, Fidelia.
So I hear the federal government is working on releasing the final tranche of the Paris Club refund to governors in the state. Tell us more about that, please.
Yes, the Nigerian government announced the conditions for the release of the final tranche of the Paris Club refund, and the government in a statement through the Ministry of Finance also disclosed that the final amount owed to states is $2.689 billion. It listed a condition for the release of the funds. Now, salary and staff-related arrears must be paid as a priority, commitment to the commencement of the repayment of budget support loans granted in 2016, clearing of amounts due to the Presidential Fertilizer Initiative, and commitments to clear matching grants from the Universal Basic Education Commission. This will be the second release by the Muhammadu Buhari-led administration. The first release was paid between December 1st, 2016 and September 29th, 2017. The Nigeria Employers Consultative Association, NECA, has called on the Pension Fund Administration, PFA, to stay away from all bottlenecks that could prevent pensioners from getting access to their funds. Now, speaking during the one-day interactive session on challenges and future outlooks of the Pension Reform Act 2014, the representative of the Director General of NECA, Celine Oni, says stakeholders and employers have expressed concerns over the hiccups of the pension scheme in the recent years.
So the reform was very much welcome, and in 2014, the Extant Pension Reform Act was amended to include other matters arising, which were not envisaged in 2004, and was signed into law with fundamental changes in the operations and dispensation of pension in Nigeria. In this journey and success story, NECA as an association and the Voice of Business would like to note the role which social dialogue and collaboration with stakeholders, particularly the organized private sector, has played in the contributory pension dispensation. In spite of the gains of the scheme over the years, stakeholders and employers have expressed concerns with respect to the scheme. And these concerns range from safety of the funds, challenges with sundry regulations, clamor from government for the use of the fund for public infrastructural purposes.
One of the speakers at the event, Human Resource Director, Cadbury Nigeria PLC, Tokwe Phillips Ayekumele, highlighted the challenges faced by employees in the accessibility of pension funds.
Now, some of the employers' objectives for gladly making this contribution. Now, let me say this to you. If you sit on the employer end and every day for each employee, you calculate gratuity increase. And for those who pay gratuity today, the list in terms of percentage increase that you pay year in, year out, and I work in a business where working 25 years is not a big deal. We find people who work 30 years, 35 years, and they accumulate gratuity. And year in, year out, apart from the fact that I pay a wage increase of 10%, whether they are performing or not, I pay for membership fee of 10% every year. I also have to pay, what? 7% over and above the gratuity fee. Calculation, 7%. That's besides NSIT, that's besides ITA, that's besides a lot of other things. So the pressure is also on me to give loans to employees.
Oil prices rose on Tuesday amid looming U.S. sanctions against Iran's petroleum industry. Now, that's despite efforts by Washington to get other major suppliers to make up for the expected disruption. U.S. crude futures were at $67.70 a barrel, while Brent crude futures climbed 38 cents to $77.75 a barrel. Washington is putting pressure on other countries to also cut Iran imports, like with close allies like South Korea, Japan, but also India, showing signs of falling in line. Russia, the United States, and Saudi Arabia are the world's three biggest oil producers by far, meeting around a third of the world's almost 100 million barrels per day of daily crude consumption. Combined output by these three producers have risen by 3.8 million barrels per day since September 2014, more than the peak 3 million barrels per day Iran has managed during the last 3 years. Well, now we're going to take a brief look at today's trading session at the NSE. Well, the bears remain in the market today, with key market indicators depreciating by 0.48%. The equities market ended Tuesday's trading session with investors losing a little over 59 billion naira in value, with the market capitalization of all equities dropping down to 12.211 trillion naira from 12.270 trillion naira recorded in its previous session, which was yesterday. And yesterday's loss was largely attributed to the consumer goods sector as it recorded a 3.69% decline. Today's loss, on the other hand, is largely attributed to the banking sector as it records a 3.05% decline. Now, the consumer goods, on the other hand, made the most gains, going up by 1.60%. Now, if we take a look at our gainers chart, we see Nestle topped the gainers chart, top 4. Yesterday, Nestle was on the top of our losers chart, declining by 145 naira. Today, it has gained 130 naira and closed at 1,485 naira. Dangote is still on our list. Access Bank and Learn Africa ends at top 4. On our losers chart, we have Nigerian Breweries with a 4.686% decline in share price to take Nestle's place on the losers chart. Guarantee Trust Bank, Dangote Sugar, and Forte Oil, who was also on the losers chart yesterday, still remains on the losers chart today with a 4.99% decline in its share price. Now, on the top traders chart, we have, of course, the financial sector, banking sector to be precise, with Guarantee Trust Bank coming in first, UBA maintaining its position on the traders chart, Diamond Bank and Access Bank making our top 4 traders. And in summary, we have a total of over 150 million shares valued at over 1 billion naira in almost 4,000 deals. That's to be precise, 3,678 deals. But if we take a brief look at our global stock market, we'll see that the London Stock Exchange closed in the reds with 0.42%. Dow Jones, that's the American Stock Exchange, closed in the greens with a 0.22% increase, while the Asian Stock Exchange closed with a 1.30% increase. Yesterday, we had all of them in greens. Now, today, we have just the London Stock Exchange in the greens. Now, that's all I have for you, Fidelia.
All right, thank you, Esther. So this is the NSE's 6th day in the reds.
Yes, it is.
So do you think we would see a change tomorrow?
Well, you can't really predict this markets depending on what's going on around, but hopefully, fingers crossed, we might have a grain.
Thank you so much, Esther. Well, still to come, 55 pilgrims have died in India and there is a cholera outbreak in Zimbabwe. More details after this break. Do stay with us.
Corruption not in my country.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, madam.
My name is Alero. I am not sick. I just need you to help put your stamp on this medical report. I want to tender it at my office as a sick leave. I'll pay 10,000 naira.
Ma'am, that is impersonation. I'm not a doctor.
Oga, be like say this English no go pay. I go increase the money to 20,000 naira. I beg. You know, if I give you that 20,000, as you wide, so if it still help your condition more. So you don't say you spread well.
As I spread like virus, I'll be.
You talk. Come
out! If person come to your hospital, talk to make you give a fake medical report, make you go take collect sick leave. Talk and say no, not corruption. Not in my country.
Corruption not in my country.
Stop corruption now.
Welcome back. A bus carrying at least more than 87 pilgrims from a Hindu temple in the hills of southern India has plunged off the road, killing at least 55 people and injuring several others. The driver lost control as he tried to avoid another bus on the crowded road. Now, this is the highest death in a road accident in India. 33 others were also injured, with 6 of them in critical condition. Accidents on Indian roads claim the lives of more than 150,000 people each year, with most accidents blamed on poor roads, badly maintained vehicles, and reckless driving. On July 28, a bus carrying university workers plunged off a mountain road into a valley in western India, killing 33 people. Now, more than 100 migrants died in a shipwreck off the Libyan coastline earlier this month. Now, according to Medecins Sans Frontieres, MSF, 2 rubber boats set off on September 1st, but one of the vessels deflated and sank. The 276 survivors were eventually taken to the Libyan port city of Homs, to the southeast of the capital, Tripoli. MSF says the group is now being held in arbitrary detention. The survivors, including pregnant women, children and infants, have been treated by MSF for pneumonia or burns from leaked fuel. Officials in Zimbabwe have declared a health emergency in the capital, Harare, after the death toll of people infected with cholera rose to 20. At least 2,000 people have been infected after drinking contaminated water. It came after burst sewers contaminated water in boreholes and open wells, which are used by some residents. Harare City Council has struggled to supply water to some suburbs for more than a decade, forcing residents to rely on water from open wells and community boreholes. And Sport UEFA is preparing to roll out a third European club competition from 2021 to 2022, pending the final approval from the executive committee. The move has been in the pipeline for some time as UEFA looks to maximize the commercial potential of its top sides while continuing to reward domestic success with continental competition. European Club Association ECA Chairman Andrea Agnelli says the new model third competition would increase the number of clubs involved in European football from 80 to 96. The Champions League features 32 teams in the group stage, and second-tier Europa League has 48. Now the Europa League will be cut to 32 when the new competition begins. Now, Real Madrid defender Marcelo has accepted a 4-month suspended prison sentence and a €750,000 fine as part of a deal to settle a Spanish tax fraud case. The 30-year-old will not spend time in prison, however, with Spanish law stating that a sentence of under 2 years for a first offense can be served on probation. The Brazilian is the latest player to be charged with using offshore accounts to shelter income from image rights. Manchester United manager Jose Mourinho was handed a similar sentence just last month. Well, thank you for watching News Now on TV360. I am Fidelia Aguncha. Bye for now.